Hello, good evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, coming to you live from our studio here at Adesanwe Kanda in Accra. Coming up this evening, outpour of anger as more Ghanaians wade into the president's refusal to declare a state of emergency on illegal mining. Tonight, we'll tell you why the media coalition against Galamsey thinks the president needs to reconsider his fight against illegal mining. And later, labor unions back President Mahama's call to review single spine pay policy. And former Attorney General and Minister for Justice Godfred Yeboah-Dame condemns what he describes as intolerance of free speech under the Mahama administration following the arrest of NPP Bono Regional Chairman Kwame Bafo, also known as Abronye. We have details of all these and more, including sports and business, coming your way for the next 1 hour. Do stay with us. My name is Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Let's bring you the news summaries with Christabel.
In our summaries tonight, Ghana has confirmed 25 new cases of the Mpox disease, bringing the total confirmed to 519. There are no admissions. Meanwhile, death toll remains at 1. The latest update shows an increase from August 28, when 21 new cases brought the total to 467. On August 25, the service reported 22 cases, which pushed the cumulative figure at the time to 446. President John Mahama has confirmed that Ghana has received the first batch of West African nationals deported from the United States after an agreement between the two countries. While speaking at the presidential media encounter yesterday, the president revealed that initial 14 individuals have already been received, most of whom were Nigerians with a Gambian national. The government has announced plans to dedicate 1 billion Ghana cedis from the Ghana Education Trust Fund to phase out the double track system in senior high schools. Education Minister Haruna Idrisu disclosed this during the commissioning of a new staff accommodation facility at the Accra Girls Senior High School on Thursday, September 11, 2025. Finally, some 38 victims of the Bingiri conflict, mostly women and children, have fled back to the Saula camp only a few days after returning to their communities in Tentere in the Bole district. The victims, who had been displaced by the clashes in the Saula, Tuna, Kauba and Bole districts of the Savannah region, said they received information about possible fresh attacks. We have this on our website, 3news.com. Do well to visit there. Martin.
Right, thank you very much. Let's go straight to the details of our stories we have for you this evening. And remember that you can also follow our conversation on our Facebook page and YouTube page, where we are streaming this bulletin. And we always love to hear from you, so do let your thoughts and comments come in. Now, the Ghana Police Service have intercepted a private ambulance used to transport narcotics in Labadi in the Greater Accra region. On September 10, the Accra Regional Police Command, acting on sustained surveillance, intercepted a Hyundai Hiace private ambulance at a location identified as Jamboree Drinking Spot at Labadi. Upon examination of the sack, 700 parcels and 473 wraps of dried leaves suspected to be cannabis were hidden in the booth of the ambulance. Armstrong Gold Alogba is our reporter on the ground, has been following this issue for us. He's joined us for an update on what exactly the police found beyond these. Armstrong, good evening. Thank you for joining us. So, where exactly is the ambulance as we speak?
Martin, so currently, as I speak to you, the ambulance has been parked at the Greater Accra Regional Police Command, where the police are keeping it and also keeping the suspects in custody. And
how long had they been tailing or following this tip-off that led to the arrest?
So it's been like a whole year something. This young man, we are told, for the past 1 year, this is what he has been involved in. Before he went for the haze, he used to have a private vehicle that he used to apply his trade, until the idea came of him going to buy this new haze. And when he bought it, it wasn't an ambulance. He decided to go and turn it into an ambulance, fixing the siren just to deceive the police officers. So they've been monitoring him for some time now, and luck not being on his side, he was picked up just recently.
And we've seen the numbers that you've given us, which says that 700 parcels and 473 wrappers of dried leaves suspected to be cannabis. Was that the only content in the ambulance?
Yeah, sadly. So that is the only content for now. But then the police are yet to take the suspected cannabis to the drugs authorities to conduct further studies and see if there are other known narcotics among what we usually know as the cannabis. So for now, hopefully maybe next week when the police meet with us again for further briefing, we will be able to tell whether or not there are other substances among what we've seen now.
And I'm sure the gentleman in question is cooperating with investigations. Do we know whether he's been working alone or it is a network that the police are probably trying to unravel?
So these are questions we pose to the police public affairs PRO, that is the Superintendent of Being, who said to us that they are still moving around to apprehend other suspects that are involved in this, because indeed the guy brings the cannabis all the way from Pando in the Volta region, after which he distributes it to other people. So who are these people he has been distributing the cannabis to? That is what the police currently are on the manhunt to get all of them so that they will be brought to book.
All right, Armstrong, thank you very much for this report. Armstrong Gold-Alogbe is our man following this story for us, where the police have been able to follow and arrest the driver or the occupants of an ambulance which, was being used to convey cannabis, as we know it as of now. The police have said that it was in excess of 700 parcels and 470 wrappers of dried leaves, which they suspect to be cannabis. And he's been using this Hyundai Hayes, which is a private ambulance, which he's been using to transport these illegal drugs. So he's currently under investigation in the grips of the police, and in the coming days we'll find out whether or not he's been working alone or the network that he is a part of, if the police can actually crack that. Let's go on to some other stories this evening.
Now, the former Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Godfred Yeboah-Dame, has condemned what he describes as intolerance of free speech under the Mahama administration following the arrest of NPP Bono Regional Chairman Kwame Bafo, also known as Abronye. Abronye has been charged with false publication and offensive conduct and has been remanded into police custody following comments he allegedly made during the IGP Christian Tete Yohono. Lord Eduasari reports.
According to police prosecution, the Bono NPP chair stated on a television platform that all strategic meetings conducted by the National Democratic Congress at Akwetia ahead of the by-election had the Inspector General of Police in attendance. He was arrested on Monday after honoring an invitation by the police and subsequently arraigned before the circuit court on Tuesday. His mode of transport, however, attracted public interest as he was hauled before the court in the Ghana Police's iconic prison on wheels, referred to as the Black Maria. He was denied bail after the prosecution indicated that more time was required to complete the investigations. Reacting to the development after visiting Abronye at the CID headquarters in Accra, former Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame noted that the incumbent administration was charting a dangerous precedent.
There ought to be tolerance for free speech. Do you understand? And the level of intolerance of this administration is very reprehensible. They don't want to condone the democracy. That if a person says something that at least we should find offensive, then you quickly deploy the criminal justice system to pick the person up and lamp the person in custody and all that.
Godfred Dame further condemned the lack of access to the NPP Bono chairman by his lawyers.
Gathered that his lawyers were actually denied access to him after court. So quite seriously, since Tuesday, his lawyers have not been able to have access to him. So yesterday I requested to meet him, but I must once again expressed their strongest observations about the manner in which this administration is manipulating and utilizing the criminal justice system to intimidate and harass political opponents. That's clearly the lowest we can get to as a nation. It's very much inconsistent with the democratic tenets of the nation. We have seen it many times, yes, and it is a stark contrast to the era we just proceeded.
Abronye's trial continues on Friday, September 12th.
And you hear that report put together by Lord Eduasare, who was in court. So we'll keep an eye on how all of this unfolds, especially now that Abronye is still within the grips of the security services. Now, on to the issues of illegal mining, and civil society group Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey has criticized President John Mahama's response to the ongoing illegal mining crisis. The group has described the president's comments during his media encounter as uninspiring and failing to reflect the urgency of the environmental emergency facing the nation. For months, civil society organizations have been calling on the government to declare a state of emergency in areas affected by illegal mining in a bid to tackle the menace. The Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey has noted that President Mahama's posture to dealing with Galamsey does not inspire hope in tackling the menace. But the president said in the media encounter that declaring a state of emergency cannot happen now. Let's listen to the president when he earlier spoke on this issue in 2024.
I've been reluctant to implement a state of emergency in the Galamsey fight because we've not exhausted the powers we even have without a state of emergency. We have the opportunity to arrest anybody, to confiscate any such thing. There are laws for forest protection and all that give us enough powers to be able to act. Implementing a state of emergency might sound nice, but it should be the last extreme, the last resort. So for now, let's exercise all the powers we have. And if it becomes necessary for a state of emergency, then we'll look at it. It means we have to go to Parliament. The president can't just declare a state of emergency without, going to Parliament, because there's a limit to how long you can maintain that state of emergency. And so I believe that we still have leverage to continue to fight Galamsey without necessarily implementing a state of emergency. It means that we have to delineate the areas where the state of emergency is operational. Like if you look at the area where Galamsey is taking place, it covers several districts of our country. And so we would do it if it becomes necessary. But for now, I think that we've given the security services enough powers to be able to deal with people who are found to be involved in Galamsey.
So that's President John Mahama yesterday at the media encounter when he spoke about issues regarding why he is reluctant to declare a state of emergency. Clearly, it is one of the issues that have dominated conversations across the country in the last probably 3 to 4 years, considering how illegal mining or activities of illegal miners have devastated our water bodies and forest reserves, for which reason they thought that declaring a state of emergency in and of itself will be able to slow or halt the degradation of our lands. But the president says that there are already enough laws that we can implement effectively to ensure that we slow down or suspend these activities, for which reason civil society groups are saying that the president has not done enough. In a related development, former Chief Justice Sophia Akuffo has added her voice to the heated national conversation on illegal mining. In reaction to President Mahama's refusal to declare a state of emergency in affected areas, the former Chief Justice urged Ghanaians to give the president the benefit of the doubt, stressing that his assurance to rely on existing laws to curb the menace deserves time and support. She passed the comment today at the Institute of Economic Affairs' media encounter. And let's listen to what exactly Madam Sophia Akuffo has been saying.
Have been put in place. Yeah, so we wait to see how those measures pan out. For all you know, those measures will begin to roll back or halt and then begin to roll back the menace. So the benefit of the doubt, isn't that what it should be? Yeah, thank you.
So that's Madam Sufaya Akufu, also a member of the Council of State. She is a former Chief Justice, adding her voice to the fact that we need to support the president now that he says that they are going to be looking at other ways of fully implementing the existing laws to fight illegal mining. We'll try and get some reactions to this and then see how the reactions will be. At least for the first time in a while, we've heard specifically from the president on what he makes of the current fight, the successes that they've been able to chalk, the challenges they are facing, and even went further to explain the kind of challenge that we are likely to face if they just get up and declare a state of emergency that many are calling for. Stay with us. This is 3FM 92.7. We'll try and get further perspectives on these issues. Let's go on to some other issues that the president touched on when he met with the media yesterday. The first presidential encounter since he came back, or the second coming of John Mahama as President of the Republic. Now, critics are raising concerns about the current depreciation of the cedi following a relatively stable situation of the country's currency. $1 is currently a little above 12 cedis. This comes less than 3 months after the dollar recorded about what actually fell to, appreciated against the US dollar to about 10 cedis. But speaking at the maiden encounter, the president indicated that investigations have revealed a pattern in which companies secured foreign exchange from commercial banks ostensibly to pay for goods but failed to deliver them into Ghana. He said over the period of 4 years, about $42 billion was taken out of Ghana without the corresponding imports. Some banks had already been sanctioned, and that individuals will soon be interrogated with the prospect of further penalties of wrongdoings being confirmed. This is what the president said regarding the performance of the cedi.
Kemenia Mano. I'm the host of TV3's Hot Issues. The cedi fall as quickly as it is.
Stopping rapid depreciation, we have the real value of the cedi. And so I believe that it is about stopping rapid depreciation of the currency. Some other factors, there were some money transfer companies that were collecting dollars abroad and not repatriating the dollars. There were other, which we're investigating, there were other cases where people applied through the commercial banks for foreign exchange to cover imports. And those monies are transferred to pay for imports, but the imports never came into Ghana. And we've studied a period of 4 years, and over the period of 4 years, about $42 billion was taken out of this country without the corresponding imports coming into the country. And so we started sanctioning some banks, and soon we'll start interrogating some individuals who ostensibly took money out against imports but never brought those imports. We want to know what happened.
And that's President John Dramani Mahama on the depreciation of the cedi in the third quarter of the year. Let's speak to economist Professor Patrick Asuming, who is with the University of Ghana Business School. He's joined us for a quick chat on this. Prof, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Right. To start with, what would you say to the response the president gave about the performance of the cedi? He alluded to the fact that earlier he had stated that, yes, the appreciation of the cedi was good. However, he was sure that in time the cedi would find its true value, and probably that's what we are seeing now. Is that a convincing response from the president for you?
Well, I think that the president had spoken earlier, appearing to suggest that the true value of the cedi should be something between or the dollar should be selling between 10 and 12 cedis. That represented such a sharp appreciation that it was always never going to be sustainable. So now what is happening is more or less a correction, because I think, it was hard to believe that the true value of the cedi was around the 10 that it was trading. But I think the point that he makes, which is that it's very important to prevent sharp depreciation and sharp appreciation, is correct, which was why it was such a mystery that the BOG intervened to bring such a sharp appreciation of the currency in such a short space of time. So now there's been a realization that's obviously not sustainable. So what we are seeing, even though the cedi has been depreciating, it's not as sharp as it has been in the past. So there's obviously a correction going on, but that correction is being paced such a way that it doesn't become too disruptive. So in the main, I think that what the president is saying is quite accurate. The appreciation was just too much. And now there's some correction happening. Where it will land, nobody knows. But I think this is a necessary correction, because it was not going to be sustainable to keep the cedi at the 10.5 or so that it was trading.
Some were even saying it's probably likely to drop below 8 to 7 Ghana cedi to a dollar. That certainly wasn't a possibility, was it?
Absolutely not. The more the cedi appreciated, the more you knew that it's not going to be sustainable. When it started and it was around 14, perhaps you thought that, well, this could be sustained. But the moment it went below 12 and went to 10, you always knew that, no, we can't, it wasn't going to be healthy for the economy. And I think the managers of the economy have noticed that, yes, initially some Ghanaians were singing praises for, how sharply the currency has appreciated. But we saw the problems that it has brought us. The problem with, as the president mentioned, remittances, the disincentive for exporters, and then the extra incentive for importing, which, by the way, is not consistent with what the government want to do. A government that has clearly indicated that they want to boost export and then also restrain import. You don't achieve that strategy by making your currency appreciate the way it is. So what is happening is that correction is the right thing to do.
The right thing to do. Right. A lot of the appreciation or depreciation of the cedi is speculative. Wouldn't you agree? And if so, what should the narrative be? Although we know government and the finance ministry and the Bank of Ghana are doing are trying to find the right matrix to ensure that the real value of the cedi is found, the speculation about it is very national. Probably all of us talking about it, the kind of conversations had about the cedi also has a role to play. So how do we juxtapose what government is doing vis-a-vis the conversations about the cedi so we find that common ground?
Well, I think in time past, the cedi has been subjected to severe speculation. I'm not sure that the recent correction, though, is primarily driven by speculation. As the president confirmed, the BOG has limited its intervention. What that means is that the supply of dollars on the market is reduced. So it's not like the supply is there and the people are speculating. No. What is really happening is that the excessive pumping of dollars on the market has reduced. Yes, I think when you hear some of, what the president said, people may read in between and speculate more that perhaps the cedi will appreciate further before it finds its true value. That may prompt some speculation, but I don't think that what we've seen in the last 4 weeks or so is necessarily speculation.
And the bit about the government hoping to make us an export country or country that is largely export driven, which areas would you advise we start looking at now that we know that we are not necessarily having a very bad currency. It is still trying to find its normal value. Which areas should they start pushing or looking or paying attention to, so that maybe by middle of next year or second quarter of next year, we would see that these areas are beginning to bear fruit?
Well, I think, boosting your export is not something that is easy to do in the short term. We have already seen a lot of innovation by small businesses, those into packaging, especially those into non-traditional export. We've already seen, substantial improvement, especially in the area of packaging and marketing. So I think working with the Export Promotion Authority, GEPA, as well as the Ghana Investment Promotion Authority, to find and strengthen additional export markets is important. However, we also have to look at the import side and do a lot more import substitution. Usually that will start from where we have extremely high potential, and that is agro-processing. But the agro-processing itself has to start with substantial increase in agricultural production and productivity, because you don't want to rush to set up processing plants when you don't have the key inputs for the production. We've seen that happen before, where we set up some a sugar processing factory, and then after that we struggled to get a sugar cane to process it. So you start with a strategy to boost food production. Don't forget, our food import bill has even grown. So even improving our production of food, basic staples, is enough to reduce some of our imports. Then as this happens, then it makes it easier for you to boost the food processing. But outside of the import and export, I think the other thing that came out that was important is the over-dependence on foreign financing. So I think yesterday it was very important that the president indicated that, there's no immediate plan to return to the international capital market. Not that we have an option, because we are not an IMF program that bars us from going back to the market. But it's important that we begin to reflect on how to minimize our dependence on foreign financing, because that kind of dependence also brings additional volatility to the currency.
Right.
Whenever there are swings elsewhere, because we are so dependent on financing, the Eurobonds investors are taking their monies out. Other people who are invested short term in the economy will take their money out. That brings additional volatility on the currency.
Right.
So in addition to addressing the export and import side, I think it's also important that the financing conversation continues.
Prof, thank you so much for your thoughts on this subject. Professor
welcome. Have a good evening.
Patrick Esuming is an economist and also with the University of Ghana Business School. So clearly it's a conversation that many of you have been expressing thoughts on, and I can see your messages coming in on our Facebook page, so do keep them coming. And Prof also indicated that what the president said about the cedi is actually the solution government is proposing about helping the cedi find its true value is the right way to go, or the step in the right direction. So we'll try and keep our hopes up, and then hopefully in the next few months we'll try and see, especially now that we are getting into the festive season where many people are demanding dollars to import into the country, we will help the currency stabilize a bit more to the benefit of all. This is 3FM 92.7. You're listening to Hot Edition. It is live from our studio here at Adesawe Kanda in Accra. We will take a step back to our earlier story having to do with the response the president gave regarding the fight against illegal mining. And you'd recall that the president, in opposition or before becoming president, his party, the NDC, and civil society organizations and many other people put pressure on the then government, asking them to at least declare a state of emergency in our fight against illegal mining, or galamsey as we call it. Well, today, the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey have released a statement where they say that the president's response at the media encounter was uninspiring, indicating that it failed to reflect the urgency of the environmental emergency that the country is facing. Let's go to the phone lines now and engage a member of the coalition, Daryl Bosu, who is also the Deputy National Director of Arocha Ghana. Mr. Bosu, good evening. Thank you for your time.
And good evening to you as well, my brother. I'm happy to be here. Yeah.
You obviously, and you, by you I mean the coalition, is obviously not too excited about the response the president gave. But on the back of that, the president sought to explain that we already have laws that we are using to help fight the illegal mining menace. Why is it that you don't seem convinced with the president's response?
Well, I think, yes, we all listen to the president. And as to whether we are convinced or not, I think when you are in the field, when you see what is happening to our communities, when you see what is happening to our rivers, when you see the pressure that is on our forest reserves, then you understand why we do not have to just take what the president is saying on face value. Because if the solutions on the ground now are working, nobody will come and be insisting or pushing that the government should put in place a targeted state of emergency. We've been here before where governments have said, okay, we are going to have Vanguard. There was even an imposition of a one-year moratorium on small-scale mining and all of that. But still, this issue has escalated and it has kept growing and becoming more and more, even more dangerous for all of us. So the issue is, are the solutions on the ground now, as he's talking about, working as we expect? And we all know the obvious answer is no. And that is why we cannot keep doing the same thing and expect that we'll have some results. And that's why we believe that the only thing that we have not tried and we are failing to try is placing a targeted state of emergency. The president himself acknowledged alone. There are certain areas in this country where galamsey is so prevalent, the impunity is so overwhelming that we need to ensure that we calm down on this impunity and deal with it. And that's exactly what we have also been saying when it comes to the state of emergency. Now, let's be very clear. We are not saying implement a state of emergency to go and shoot people, to go and be beating people. How that state of emergency will be implemented lies the power in terms of the detail, lies still in the power in the hands of the president and Parliament, as he said. So I think that all the solutions that is available to us, we are not seeing it working. The president did indeed mention NIMOS in the system. We all acknowledge and welcome NIMOS, and we believe that if they are given sufficient support, and this is the main part of the statement I'm making here, is that if they are giving support right now, they're even struggling to get the bare minimum of resources to be able to deploy and do what they have to do. The IGP task force are on the ground, keeping everybody in check. And we know the police have done strong. They are the frontline law enforcement agencies when it comes to dealing with criminalities in our communities, in our districts, and at the regional level. We shouldn't take a task force like the IGP task force or even NIMOS if the police and all these people were working very well. But we know the truth is that when you go to the ground, these systems are weak and they are not working. And that is why we say, let's take and explore a targeted state of emergency. I'm sure the president himself knows the power of what that will do. And that is why they are stopping themselves from making sure that it works. Nobody will be spared when it comes to whoever is engaged in the illegal mining. And usually we know that politicians drag their feet. They don't want to do what they have to do because they are afraid that if they implement the law to its fullest, their own people will be caught in the work. And that is why they tend to drag their feet and not get things done by law as they should.
Right. And the concern you raise, also falls within the fact that the president said that we already have some laws that we are working with, and in the last few months, you mentioned it in your submission that there is an IGP task force. We have seen them go around, pick up people's excavators, etc., and so there is some action in there. The president also is of the view that declaring a state of emergency might sound fanciful, but would require more than just, giving a presidential directive. Henceforth, this area and that area is under a state of emergency. How would you advise the president approach it if even, for instance, he says at the next resumption of parliament, he's going to ensure that they kickstart the process of declaring a state of emergency?
I see that as an excuse when he says it sounds fanciful. When he was in opposition and they were also trumpeting the call for state of emergency, almost the rank and file of the party and the leadership, was it not also fanciful? Why is that now that they have the power and they must commit, they're making statements like it is fanciful and all of that?
Maybe it's now the reality has hit them.
Oh, well, you see, they are in power. They have the full force of the law. They have the Attorney General. They have Parliament. They have the Supreme Court and all of that. They would know, and I am not the person to advise them on how this. All we know is that it is a tool as a state we can take advantage of or leverage to deal with an existential crisis. And from where we stand, we are at a point where we need to take this step to guarantee the security and safety of Ghana going on into the future. If we decide not to do it and sit back and watch, then it is all of us who are going to be caught in the web eventually.
Right. Mr. Bosu, finally, the coalition, what's your next step? After a lot of advocacy has gone on in the last few years, I should say. Now the president, for the first time in a while, has also been categorical on the fact that it wouldn't be possible to declare a state of emergency now. How do we proceed from here?
Well, we have a press conference coming on Monday, and we are still going to keep advocating. We are going to keep talking to government behind the scenes as well, and also publicly as we should. But I think that they must know that we are not going to relent until this fight and government takes responsibility, and government is also accountable to the people when it comes to the promises and the commitments they made when they were in opposition. They have a duty of care to every Ghanaian, and they must do that. They must keep their word. So we run with them. Otherwise, I think we should expect some mass mobilization also. And you can never tell what will happen when that happens.
Mr. Bosu, thank you so much for making time to speak with us this evening.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Daryl Bosu is Deputy Country Director, Arocha Ghana, and also a member of the coalition, or anti-Galamsey coalition. And clearly, this very topical issue, the Ghana coalition against Galamsey, this very topical issue never seems to go away. And it was expected that it would come up in the conversation with the president when he met the media. And it did come up. They asked it in different forms. The president answered and said that, yes, that specific statement of declaring a state of emergency may not happen now because from the information and reports that he gets on a daily basis, he does not think that we have exhausted all the laws we have in the country in fighting Galamsey. We would ensure that we use them to their fullest or execute them to their fullest up until a time where we think that the best option would be to declare it or zone out specific areas, maybe a particular area in a district declared as a state of emergency. Then the military or whichever state agencies can't go there to try and fight the illegal miners. Let your thoughts also be heard. We are happy to share it with the rest of the world. This is 3FM 92.7. This is Hot Edition. And we go on to some other stories now.
Former Chief Justice Sophia Kufu has also added her voice to the heated national conversation on illegal mining. And she passed a comment earlier today reacting to what the president also said. Let's move to some other stories. Organized labor has backed calls by the President John Dramani Mahama to review the single spine pay policy without delay. The group says the current state of the salary structure has made workers worse off, with some earning as low as 400 Ghana cedis and inadequate pension benefits. Leadership of organized labor, who spoke exclusively with our labor affairs correspondent Daniel Opoku in Accra, expressed concern that the pay policy is to blame for the continuous strikes and demonstrations on the labor front. Thomas Tanko Musa is General Secretary of NAT.
The single span pay policy, if His Excellency John Dramani Mahama says, Adum Siumwampa, because it is long overdue. Over 15 years since the implementation of the single span, it was supposed to be reviewed every 5 years. And we as workers who are leading workers, if you look at the single span and what we are hearing on the news and the media about other public service sector workers, the wages and even their allowances, it's more than the highest paid person on the single span. So I think we in the labor front have been calling for the review of the single span. And so we are really, really happy, and we want to applaud His Excellency that indeed he's a father of the nation. He's a listening president, and we will appreciate a total overhaul of the single span pay policy.
If the jobs are valued, yes, then we come to realize that, look, all those on this particular job, whether you are in the Ministry of Finance, whether you are in the Bank of Ghana, whether you are, to the extent that you are in the public sector, let all of them take the same thing. It is a constitutional obligation and it's a constitutional injunction that equal work, equal pay for equal value of work done. But we've had challenges, and we've been talking about this over the years. So if the president himself has spoken on this thing, we need to go back to the table so that we get a very sustainable and dependable pay regime policy that all of us will come on board, including those on what do you call it, the article, those who, yes, those who they should also come on board. Then we get it done, because we all get the money from the consolidated fund. We are all paid from the consolidated fund, and so the money I get should not be because of place I am working. Because look, there are some organizations in Ghana, given the opportunity, many people wouldn't work to work there.
So you had the thoughts of two key individuals who work within Ghana's labor sharing their thoughts on the president's decision to take a relook at the single spine pay policy. So you had Thomas Musa Tanko there, and then also King James Azortiba, who is the General Secretary of TEU. They were speaking to our labor correspondent Daniel Opoku. And a number of Ghanaians also shared their thoughts on the encounter, the presidential media encounter yesterday. Let's listen to what their views were as regards the level of questions that were asked and the answers that the president gave to them.
So I think that what the president did was a good thing. You have to account to the people. You cannot tell us that you have people who are stealing from the nation, and then you came to power and you are not attacking them. You are trying to negotiate. Then I'll also go and then steal, so that when I find out that I'm being caught, I'll come back and say I will find the money. And so the president should go ahead and prosecute people who have stolen from the nation.
Yes, I know, I understand. But Nigeria is a country on its own. So they can as well be deported to their own country. Why Ghana? Though I see that there's nothing wrong. But how well do we know them?
A very good attitude of meeting the press once a while. And about the Galamsey manners, he said categorically that they are not going to declare any state of emergency. But then we want to see a clear way forward as to how the Galamsey is being tackled by Mahama.
The Galamsey issue. This issue has really been a problem. So I was so happy he said he'll be taking, the government will be taking some of the small-scale miners to Australia for training so that they'll go and learn how to mine without not destroying our water bodies.
I think he did terrific. All the questions were spot on. He answered it according to, and I'm really satisfied the way he answered question. And then the president is open. I like the way his demeanor, the questions is answered. Everything was spot on.
Yesterday there's a question asked the government about Galamsey. He answered the question, but I think he should do more because campaign platform, he said a lot of things that we thought that if he can do well so that he bring the Galamsey down. All our water bodies are going.
Well, those were some Ghanaians responding to the president's media encounter yesterday. This is Hot Edition live on 3FM 92.7. We'll be back with business and sports. Bismarck Awusa is standing by.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Coming up tonight, debt rating state-owned SIC Financial Services Limited imposes 20% salary cuts after appointment of US-based economist Dr. Saad Idrisu as acting managing director. This headline story and others lined up for you. Please stay. Thanks for your company. Now to the details. The management of SIC Financial Services Limited has announced a 20% salary reduction for its managing director and all staff effective October 2025. The move comes shortly after President Mahama's administration appointed US-based economist Dr. Saad Idrisu to act as managing director of the struggling state-owned company. According to the managing director, the decision forms part of broader cost-cutting measures aimed at salvaging the struggling firm and restoring investor confidence. There is more in the following 3 Business News Desk report. SIC Financial Services Limited is implementing drastic measures in a bid to restore stability and rebuild confidence in the company. In a statement signed by Acting Managing Director Dr. Saad Idrisu, the company revealed that the Managing Director and all staff will face a 20% salary cut starting October this year. The move, management says, is to streamline operational expenses and align with ongoing restructuring efforts to bring the firm back to glory. Despite the challenges, SIC FSL insists it remains open to new business and will be rolling out new products by the end of the 4th quarter of 2025. Management is also appealing to government for support to safeguard the investments of clients while urging debtors, including contractors and SMEs, to honor their obligations once payments from government contracts are received. The company stressed that cooperation from all stakeholders is crucial to its recovery and long-term success. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on debt rating state-owned SIC Financial Services Limited imposing 20% salary cuts after appointment of US-based economist Dr. Saad Idrisu as acting managing director. Moving on, Deputy Chief Executive or Deputy Chief of Staff Nana Oyebampoado says government remains committed to growing indigenous businesses and elevating them to international standards. She emphasized that this will be achieved by prioritizing youth-led enterprises and empowering young entrepreneurs across the country.
Speaking at the 9th edition of the 40 Under 40 Awards, the Deputy Chief of Staff reaffirmed government's resolve to improve Ghana's macroeconomic outlook while creating a more enabling environment for local businesses to thrive.
They show that success is possible in Ghana, here at home. And it reminds us that democracy is strongest when it collectively harnesses the sense of all its people, especially young people who form the majority in Ghana.
The executive director of Brain Hills International School, Mary Anani Ewuku, who emerged overall winner of the award, called on government to continue supporting private businesses as a means of expanding job opportunities nationwide.
So far, I think the government is also doing well to help us as individual businesses or private entities. Of course, different tax rebates, different policies that would also help us to even employ more people, to be able to help us to get funds, to be able to expand on what we are doing. Because what we have done has created a lot of jobs, which I know is going to also help ease the tension on the government agencies and then government organizations.
And that report bringing us to the end of the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please check out our website 3news.com. Thanks for your company.
Are you ready?
Something big is happening in Accra. It's 3FM Afro Connect, a grand celebration of African unity, culture, and creativity in Ghana.
This September, Africa will unite to celebrate the beauty and cultural diversity of the continent right here in Accra, Ghana. The whole continent is gathering in one place at the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park on Nkrumah Holiday, the 22nd of September 2025 from 9 a.m. Experience the rhythms, the art, the fashion,
and the unforgettable spirit of unity. Exhibitions, food and vendor markets, and of course the legendary 3FM Jollof Wars. This year, AfroConnect gets even bigger and better with the Osajifo Night Concert. Buy your tickets on *725 *2226#. That's *725 *2226# for 100 Ghana cedis. To be a vendor for this Pan-African celebration, call us on 0531 100 927 and 0532 200 927 to book your space.
Don't forget, it's happening at the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park, Accra, on the 22nd of September from 9 a.m.
Proudly sponsored by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition with me, Oreku Ampofo. Now, are you ready? As 2FM 92.7 is your GPL headquarters this season. We're taking you straight into the heart of the action with live match commentary from every Ghana Premier League venue, pre-match build-ups to hype you before kickoff, expert analysis from football pundits, and GPL stars, post-match reactions from coaches, players, and fans. And because football is nothing without you, 3FM is all about the fans. There'll be fans call-ins before, during, and after matches, live studio debates on the hottest talking points, GPL trivia games with chances to win exclusive prizes. Wherever the action will be, 3FM 92.7 will bring it to you live, connecting you to every roar, every chant, and every celebration. The Ghana Premier League kicks off on Friday, September 12. Keep your dials locked to 3FM 92.7, Accra's voice of football. Ghana Premier League live on 3FM We Live Football. Now, ahead of the new season, Bichem United are stepping up preparations, and they go away to defending champions BBN Gold Stars on Saturday in their season opener. Now, ahead of the tie, a new Bichem United forward Mohamed Aminu, who previously starred for Manchester City's academy, says he's ready to right his wrongs.
This is like a second chance for me, and I have to grab it. I have to hold it like an egg, you know. I don't have to let it slide again. Bichem United is a big team, and it's a good club for young players like me. They give a lot of opportunities and they help a lot. That's why I'm here, and I believe we could go far. And when I was in the house, I got some little offers. You know, people talk to me like they want me to come and stuff, but I think those clubs are one of the biggest, clubs in the league. Not even in Ghana, they know them also in Europe and stuff. So the pressure there is too much, And I went somewhere that I'm gonna take my time. They're gonna have time for me, let me be on track. That's why I choose Bichem United.
And so that was Mohamed Aminu speaking there. Let's move from Bichem United to another game that would be the opening game of the Ghana Premier League season. Now that has to do with Hearts of Oak, who would be in action against Hohoe United at the Accra Sports Stadium. Now it's an eagerly anticipated game as the president is expected to be there, and then there will be Stoneboy also performing, and there will be a curtain raiser as well with the Black Stars facing Auroras. Now, ahead of the game, Hearts of Oak themselves come into it with confidence after winning the 2025 Democracy Cup. But head coach of BBN United, of Hohoe United, Tijani Bashiru, fancies his side's chances of facing the Phobians. And so we'll try and get to you the voice of Tijani Bashiru there. We should have it by now. Okay, looks as if the voice of Tijani Bashiru isn't playing, but you can still get updates of that on our social media handles as we continue to bring you the latest updates in the Ghana Premier League. My name is Oreku Ampofo, and that would be all for the sport here on Hot Edition, and also for the show Hot Edition as well. We're back again tomorrow on Friday to bring you the latest news here on TFM 92.7.